And what gives you the idea that the ruling class knows how to use people's energy better than the people themselves, right? A subset of the human population that claim the right to rule over people, right, and control the course of, human history, right? You're going to trust the people who want power over others to know better how to use everyone's energy than the people themselves, or substantial portions of people's energy, right? We don't need a ruling class to have medicine. We don't need a ruling class to have housing. We don't need a ruling class to have food. We don't need a ruling class for anything. You don't need any amount of authoritarianism, right, to pool resources to fund anything, or to put our labor together and create things, right, and to collaborate and create structures and organizations. You don't need someone, like, you can have people that have decision-making roles within the organizations they create, right? You can have things like that, right? But that's different from the right to rule over people, the right to coerce people, assault people if they don't give you labor, the right to own someone, right? You don't need that ingredient, the ownership of other people in any form whatsoever. You don't need that for anything positive that people say they want. And even if the state does give you some things in return, you're being forced, no matter where you live on earth, you're being forced to fund the salaries of politicians, the salaries of police officers, the salaries of military, the salaries of border patrol, the salaries, likely also corporate subsidies, interest payments to banks for them to make money from nothing, right? Not to mention bailouts, right? You will be funding likely any of those things, or likely all of those things, or any number of those things, right? Under the threat of abduction, under the threat of incarceration, under the threat of financial punishment and poverty and dispossession, right? Well, how could that ever be justified in your worldview while saying you're a good person? It just is authoritarian at its essence, right? And even if you want that for yourself, even if you hate yourself so much that you don't want to have ownership of your own body and decide where your own energy goes and who you labor for and who you don't, even if you don't want that for yourself, do the rest of humanity a favor and at least extend them honor their right to own themselves, rather than say, no, you know what, I want you to be owned too. Because that's ultimately what statism is. It's not only voting for your own subjugation, it's voting for the subjugation of humanity at large. And of course, there's a spectrum within that, and there's the privileged people within that, and it's a caste system, which is part of what keeps it going.